What's up? What's happening? Live from the bullpen in Navy Yard. It's the Hoffman Show on a day that Commanders fans will remember for the rest of their lives. Right now in Minneapolis, Minnesota, NFL owners are meeting to discuss and ultimately approve the sale of the Washington Commanders from Dan Snyder to Josh Harris. And I will say, the doors are open. We got a small crowd in front of the table here starting to gather as the show begins. Other folks wandering around. That's how early people are here. We're just like, yeah, what's up? Let them in. Let's go. Doors initially at 4:30, but we are open down here at Navy Yard. So come on down, say what's up, celebrate with us. And that's really what today is about. Today is about a celebration for this community. And that's a word that has come up a lot the last, I would say 36 hours, 72 hours or so, that I hadn't thought probably enough about. I mean, obviously, you think of the fan base and everybody having the team taken away from them and the pain and suffering that you go through as a fan when your team is not just bad on the field, but embarrassing for the better part of a quarter century, which this team obviously has been. But it's even more than that. It is a situation where the team has what's up, man? People coming up. I will say the one rule generally is because this is something. Michael is here with me. Michael, you're gonna have to play a little bit of security because I am very ADD, and I can't not say what's up to people, especially on a day where we're celebrating. All right, Michael's gonna be on it. So I'm happy to say what's up to anybody. Take pictures, do whatever in a commercial break while I'm on the show. Let me focus, please, because I am easily distracted. But when you think of the community element, something that I think Kevin really drove this in when he was on Take Command with us the other day, and I heard Randy Scott talking about this earlier with Russell. There is a sense of pride that this organization had within this community, and it's something that brought D.C., Maryland, Virginia together. It's something that brought he said Democrats and Republicans would come together at FedEx or at RFK and then ultimately at FedEx Field in the early days before Dan ruined it. But you have this coming together, this thing that in the most idealistic sense, sports is. This thing that no matter what else you care about, no matter how else you live your life, no matter what you believe in, no matter who you love, no matter who you voted for, no matter anything, it's the Washington, whatever the team name has been over the course of this time period, right? And you're fans of that. And when you go to a game, you don't care who you're sitting next to as long as they're wearing the same color jersey as you. And is that idealistic? Maybe, but it's also true. Any of us who have loved sports our whole lives know that. We know that this is this thing that has the ability to bring the community together. And I think what I've really come to understand from some of the folks who have been around here far longer than me, older generations who were here in the RFK days, who were here in the heyday, who were here pre-Snyder, is that as idealistic and amazing as that is, that actually doesn't really capture what this team meant. It was actually something more than that. It was something that created a sense of civic pride, unlike few sports teams in the entire country, nevertheless across the world. And I thought Dan Steinberg captured this wonderfully in the Washington Post today, which was a reminder that, Dan, you should write more. If you're listening, Dan Steinberg, you son of a gun, you better write more. But what he said was, we don't know if we can ever capture that again, which is depressing on some level. But an undeniable truth, right? Sports have changed. The way information is exchanged has changed. Everything around this team has changed. Nevertheless, the team itself has changed over the 24 years of Dan Snyder's ownership, right? Just the way we come together as a community is different now. And in some ways better, in some ways worse. The way we're able to come together online in certain moments, I would say is better now. So that's not even like this nostalgia for something that was always better. It's just different. And so now what today represents is the opening of the door of possibility to getting that again. And will it ultimately ever be like it was? No. We are in a different time now. It's a different thing now. And that's okay. Things change, adapt, evolve over time. But if this team can reemerge to being something that everyone in this community, whether you're a fan of football or not, is at least proud to know exists in the community, that is a success, whether they win a Super Bowl, whether they make the playoffs, whether they do all the things that we want them to do on the field or not. If someone who doesn't care about football says, oh, yes, my kid was touched when the Commanders players came to their school and they did this great thing, or they're making an impact on the holidays by supplying soup kitchens, or whatever the thing is beyond football, to just go, when I say Washington Commanders, or for some of y'all, it's going to take me not saying Washington Commanders, saying a new name that is going to come 5 years from now, right? If this team can be something that when I say the name engenders positive feelings, that is what it means to have a prominent, proud NFL franchise in your community. And I think 29, 30 cities have that. They really do. Some they're more impactful than others. A place like Kansas City, a place like Buffalo, where it's the team in town, and there's not as much competition as, say, in New York, where there's two NFL teams and the Yankees and, and on down the list. Obviously, L.A., like the Chargers are an afterthought in L.A. Nevertheless, whatever the Rams are compared to the Lakers because of longevity and all those kinds of things. But you go to most, I've been lucky enough to travel a lot in this country. And a lot of it, frankly, a lot of my travel has been for NFL games. My years on the beat, I went to NFL cities for work. That was my job. And so to walk into any gas station or walk in just through downtown on a day before the game when you get in on a Saturday, and to see the prominence of the team in the city was something that always struck me, because you just don't get that here. And that's what I hope comes back. That's what I hope is someone who cares about sports, is someone who does this for a living, someone who wants to see this team succeed. That's what I want to see, is that return to prominence in that way. The football, we'll spend plenty of time talking about that. And that is going to be an important part. It is going to be something that, over the course of time, will be the main driver of those feelings, if we're being honest. The reason nobody cares about the name Commanders, the reason nobody likes the name Commanders is pretty simple. It engenders a feeling of mediocrity and apathy. If you win, that doesn't happen. What it engenders is, success. That seems good. So, is it going to be something that happens today? No. It's not possible to rebuild what was destroyed in slow motion over 24 years, some chunks taken off bigger than others, in a day. But what today is that chance that we can get back to whatever it was that your dad, your uncles, your aunts, your whoever it is that was older than you, or if you are the dad, the mom, the aunt, the uncle who went to RFK back in the day, that thing that you tell your kids about. Because I will say this, if I was someone who grew up here, it would not be me telling my, whoever about this, my niece, my nephew, my son, my daughter. And I'm 33 years old. I'm not old, but I'm not young either in the grand scheme of things in that way. I should have, if I had grown up here, a good memory outside of that one time in 2012 when Robert Griffin ran around. And that's basically what people my age have. And so what today is for people of my generation and younger, a chance to open the door and walk towards that thing that our generation older told us about. And if you are that person who's been telling your kids, I promise you it used to be awesome, congratulations, today's the day that the door is open to a return to that. The NFL meeting right now to approve the deal for Josh Harris. Of course, we will let you know when it happens. We are broadcasting live from our Burgundy and Sold party at the Pin here in Navy Yard. Folks starting to hang out. Come listen to the show. You can hear the band warming up in the background. Doors, we did open them early, so doors are open. Come on down. We got By Dan beer. We got the Burgundy and Sold shirts in limited supply, so I would suggest if you want either of those things, don't break any laws, but drive quickly. What's the John Wooden saying? Be quick, but don't hurry. I would suggest doing that. And other than that, we'll see y'all down here. Of course, we're broadcasting live till 7. Junkies are going to join me later this hour. I know Sheehan and Doc and everybody's walking around, so I'll pull one of them on here shortly. So very much looking forward to today. Excited. And there is a groundswell of energy. And that's the last thing I'll say real quick before we go to this first break is, with today being about community, what better time to come together. So come on, hang out with us. Down at Navy Yard, we're at the party at the Pin. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. Live from the bullpen, it's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live as well on YouTube at youtube.com/@theteam980. I don't know if he knows this, but right over my that's my left shoulder on the YouTube stream right now, you see my lovely boss, Chris Kynard, unwittingly modeling the Burgundy and Sold shirt that we do have available here. It's also available on Breaking Tea's website. So come on down, check it out. You can also go and pick that up online. And I'm gonna produce live here on the air for a second, Matt. Right there is Sam Fortier in the Washington Post backpack. You want to go grab him and see if he wants to hop on with us for a few minutes here? My guy Fortier in the building. Down here, all the TV stations are here. It's basically a big-time deal, and you should come on down to the bullpen and join us. Real quick, from Minneapolis, we got Jerry Jones coming up an escalator saying what? From the NFL owners' meetings? Anthony, let's hit this sound real quick.
Hold on, we're having
we got a technical issue back in studio. Holding on. Let's see.
We're good.
All right, we got Jerry Jones coming up an escalator saying what?
I think it's going to be a great day for the NFL, and exciting. And it's, I think, a hallmark day. Excited about the prospects of going into Washington and giving them some capital punishment.
And has been on the hot seat for the last.
I also feel like we're getting some feedback in the background there, Anthony. I'm not sure what that was about, but just some random junkies. It was like an Easter egg hidden in the background. But Jerry Jones says it's a great day for the NFL, and I think I think that people are making a bit much of that. Like Jerry Jones is very good at reading the room. He's going to say the thing that, he will say what he thinks, obviously, but he is also someone that's like, he realizes the Dan Snyder ship has sailed. He's not going to go down with that ship. What purpose is there? He's going to move on, and Jerry Jones is also about this. He's also about the almighty dollar, and he realizes that the way to make more money is to have a better ownership situation in D.C., and he realizes that the revenue and the everything that Dan Snyder has done to this team over the last 24 years has brought them down in prestige, in money-making ability, in all of these things. And so why on earth would he continue to be like, it's a sad day? Like, if you pressed him and like, what do you think? What's your thoughts for Dan? Would Jerry Jones probably be like, I'm bummed for my guy, maybe, but who cares? Which actually brings me to an interesting point. I will say this. I was doing a TV hit earlier today with DC News Now, and they asked me, what do I think that Dan Snyder thinks about all this? Like, it's not the most important thing, but what is it that Dan Snyder, we think, thinks about the entirety of what's happened to him? And, put yourself in his shoes. And I said this a little bit earlier, but I'll repeat it because it's the only way I know how to say it. It's hard for me to do that because I'm not a narcissist, and Dan Snyder is. Like, Dan Snyder, the reason we are here today is because Dan Snyder lived in an alternate reality where he didn't think things were bad, where he didn't realize the impacts of his behavior, where we're just talking about a man who did not exist in reality. And so I think with that being the case, it's impossible to try to put yourself in his shoes and think like, hey, what is it that he's feeling today? Does he feel wronged? Probably. Does he feel like I don't even know. Like, does he feel like the team got stolen from him? Probably. Which brings us to the one bit of news that we have today, which is that we are still awaiting the Mary Jo White report. And apparently in the room, Mary Jo White was there today. Mary Jo White was in the room with the owners. That room is still going right now, by the way. And there's still discussions about what is going to be released, what's not. Like one of Dan's owners is still, or lawyers is still there. It's still this bizarre thing, but I'd say either tomorrow or Saturday, I believe this report is going to come out, and we'll find out to what extent Dan was personally culpable for all of these things. And that's kind of the last missing piece. And I realize that there's some people that don't care. It's just, hey, he's about to be gone. Let's get that finalized and get him out of here and never talk about him again. I do think it's worth having some element of closure for everyone to really put a bow on it and understand, okay, this is what happened. Don't need to dwell on it. Just, hey, this is what happened. And I think most importantly, there's not going to be any long-term repercussions for the franchise. The team is not going to get punished for things that happened in the past. That was obviously not the case to some extent with the Wilkinson report. Like, the team gets fined, all the things come down because Dan owns the team. They didn't wind up punishing the football operation, and I don't think even if they find bad stuff in this Mary Jo White report, which, by the way, they got to find some bad stuff because bad stuff happened, that it will remotely affect the thing that most of you care about the most. But I do think it's important as a precedent. Think about, I would say this, like, think about if this was the Cowboys. Would you want them to get hammered? Would you want to know what happened? Yeah, you would. So don't lower that standard because it's your own team. It's going to be interesting to see what's in that. I think we'll find out tomorrow. The NFL is the king of burying these types of things. And between the happiness and the news of the sale and the fact that football is happening. I mean, rookies report for Washington tomorrow. Veterans are reporting in other places. Aaron Rodgers is out there at training camp today for the Jets. So the football stuff is going to wash all this away, which is exactly what they want. But at the end of the day, that is kind of the one last piece that we're waiting on outside of the obvious vote today and then the paperwork tomorrow. All right, as you can hear, band's starting to crank up here at the bullpen, Party at the Pin, Burgundy and Soul. We are live until 7 tonight on this show. Linnell and Doc take you until 9:30. The event open to all. Doors are open. We opened them early, and good thing we did, because otherwise we'd have one hell of a line outside based off how many people are already stacked up in the bullpen. I just saw Doc Walker walking around. I saw a couple of, Den Day and a couple of our producers walking around. So we'll see who we can pull on the air here in the next 15 minutes or so. And then the Junkies will join me coming up at 4:45. 5 o'clock is kind of when the news watch starts, if you will. That is the time that we're expecting the actual announcement. So we look forward to bringing that to you live today. It's a monumental day on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
You can take the Team 980 with you anytime, anywhere with the Odyssey app.
Live from our party at the Pin, it's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well, youtube.com/@theteam980, where you see the lovely, beautiful face right now of Rick Doc Walker.
Hoffman.
What's up, Doc?
Hey, man, good to be alive. And where's Anthony, playing hooky?
He's got to hit the buttons back in the studio. Someone's got to.
Oh, he didn't want to come out and be with the people.
I mean, I don't know that it was his call, but someone decided they had to keep him behind closed doors.
Well, he's a prep kid, so he probably needed air conditioning.
I mean, I think we could all use air conditioning, but that's a different story.
No, this is nice.
It is nice. So I'm excited to have you because you, as much as anybody, understand what it's like when this team is at its peak. And the word that keeps coming up for me over the last couple of days and talking to Sheehan and, listening to some other guests that have been on, Dan Steinberg wrote a great piece today in the Post, is the idea of community and what it means when this team is at the center of this community. When I say that and you think of the heyday and you playing and winning Super Bowls and going to the parades and everything, like what images come back to mind? What feelings come back to mind from those days?
It's collegiate to the point where, if you were in Cole Fieldhouse or you're at the Infinity, when the Terps are at their highest level, you have Tech, Sandman plays.
Yeah.
It's epic. No question about the community involvement. We had a collegiate environment in a city that hosts the President of the United States.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be that wild and crazy, but we were.
It's a suit and tie city.
Yeah, it is, but not when the Burgundy and Gold were at its best. Everybody was in for one thing, and that was about support of the team. No matter the outcome, it was about support. Because, we don't play. We can talk all we want to talk. We don't give them a point. We don't take away a point. But I think anybody that played under that roar, when you walked into whatever stadium it was, you knew what you represented. We went on the road. I remember used to play in Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. We owned Atlanta. We were the home team.
Yeah.
In another state. That blew my mind. The way we travel, the way we still travel very well based on the circumstance. But this, to me, kind of restarts that. And I don't want to give fans who quit an out because literally they quit. And Cleveland hadn't quit. There's certain New York Jet fans haven't quit. Our people quit on Snyder. And as a result, people got in the wash. So I'm welcoming everybody back with open arms, but I'm going, we got to, who are you?
Yeah.
And not most all those people, but the younger people that you represent now, please instill in them what you had, not what you've been.
So there's a couple of things that I think are interesting off of that, right? Because I do think, I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
If you quit because you're going, I can't root for that, because you see the things that are happening that have nothing to do with the team, nothing to do with football.
Right.
I understand that. I understand not going I can't root for that when it's covering up these things that are happening in the offices.
I'm prejudiced. I'm speaking from a player's standpoint that got unmitigated love. Regardless, I got here in 80. I didn't know anybody, and they didn't know me, and I was invited to people's homes in Middleburg for dinner.
Right.
I was invited out of a hotel. I stayed for 8 weeks. They didn't know me, and I didn't know them. It was unconditional love. And that's a hard thing, and that's why my passion has never dwindled because of those people. Strangers that embraced me, they had no reason to, and that's what we did. And I've always tried to give that to the alums, the people that come under, to give them unconditional love and support for them, no matter who's in charge. I never got involved in that. It's the players, and I'm hoping that these guys will get a chance to experience it.
Yeah, and that's what I would say too. Is the players felt that, whether you quit because of them and the fact that they weren't winning football games or not. The stadium dwindled not only in its fullness but in its capacity. Right, it was a 90,000 seat stadium when it opened. That's 64 now, 52 now, whatever it is.
Maybe.
They don't fill it either way.
Not including our people.
Right.
That's what the help of Giant fan
they put the tarps over. It ain't even possible
Jacksonville.
anymore. Right.
It's an embarrassment.
And so I guess the question becomes and Dan wrote about this today in the Post. I thought it was really interesting. Times have changed. The way we all communicate has changed. The way a community comes together has changed. a lot of things have changed around the team. Nevertheless, the change is within the team. So what, like, to you, when you've traveled with the team and go to road stadiums and you think of other fan bases, what's the model? Like, what can this team become? Or can this team be something that these other teams don't even dream of?
Well, it's Buffalo. It's the Mafia.
Yeah.
It's Chicago Bears. The Bears are awful.
Have been for a long time.
Their fan base is still dominant. You know, in other words, what I'm saying is that you can hate the evil empire. But you have to also say, but you're hurting the kids. My thing is never take anything personal. I want to support the guys that put that uniform on. No matter what it looks like, I got to support them because I was supported that way. It's unconditional. There's no excuses. Support them 100%. And they'll feel it. And they'll respond to it. The wild bunch, the special teams. I mean, it all starts with the kickoff or the kickoff return. That used to be everything to us. We want to receive because we're getting yardage or score. It was a weapon. Now they're fair catching and they're catching punts, and it's ridiculous. We got to bring that back as a tool, and I think that'll happen. The coverage teams that were here, they were legendary guys covering kicks. They had celebrity status, busting wedges. It was crazy. When I think of Dallas Hickman, that's what the Wild Bunch indicated. If you got on that unit kicking off, you knew you had to run through a wall. Everybody kind of understood what had happened before them. That's legacy. That's what we have to recapture again. You know, so the Rock Cartwrights of the world are identified. The Otis Wansleys are identified. You know, the Great Williams, they're identified. They have a meaning. Stop following the first-round pick and all that. That's so simple. We had substance. Everybody knew the entire roster, and they knew what they accounted for, whether they were undrafted free agent, whether they got off a bus and took a cab to get there. It didn't matter.
Do you think there are guys on this roster right now that can lead that next generation of what it meant? And, like, let me even take a step back, Doc. What does it mean right now to be a Washington Commander? Like, for you, if I asked you that question, what did it mean for you to put on that uniform when you played? We'd be here until my show is over for you answering that question.
Rick
right?
Owens, man.
Right.
You know, it's Larry Brown.
And there are people that
Charlie
pass it down
Taylor.
to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does it mean right now? And are there people in the organization that understand what it should mean to pass it down to the folks that Josh Harris and his group are going to bring in?
Yeah, they do. Terry McLaurin. See, we got guys, they're character guys. Even through the chaos, you respect them. We got quality guys, man. And so that's why this is going to be an easy transition, because it's not like we got a team full of jerks. We got some guys that have character, that fight. It's the same guys that in Ron's reign, they've done some incredible things a couple times. They went to Pittsburgh and beat an undefeated team. That same group of this interior people went to Philadelphia and beat an undefeated team.
Right.
You can't do that accidentally. You know, you got something about you that makes you a little different, makes you special. And so that's what I believe in, because they have enough pieces, the Cam Curls of the world. You know, they have enough pieces to pull this off. Now, they got to be blessed with health.
Sure.
You can't expect guys, you know, third-team guys to do it. But I don't feel sorry for them. I think they're capable of getting it done. They just got to get into it.
Hoffman Show, Team 980. We're broadcasting live from our party at the Pin. Every time I look up, Doc, there's more people here. I feel like everyone's just playing the snowball game. They're doubling every time I look up. You love to see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think this is something. Can you imagine Arizona in the opener?
Well, that's literally what I was about to ask you. Do we see a full FedEx Field full of burgundy and gold for the first time in, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd bet on it.
Week one?
I'd bet on it.
When was the last time that you feel like that stadium was full with the right colors?
I literally can't remember it.
Because I've been here since 15.
Yeah.
That was a good December. Like,
yeah, oh no.
Kirk and them were rolling. And
Kirk,
I mean,
Robert
12 obviously.
12 was a thrill that I still remember New Orleans. I still remember Pierre Garçon. I still remember things that happened in that season that I would hug Robert Griffith. He must have thought I was an idiot because I was so excited, because I saw that as the beginning of a return to glory. My whole moniker for this thing is that Operation Return to Glory. And I'm going to stick with that, and I believe that we've been teased with it. That happened. Kirk did it. And I remember it. I remember Jackson. I remember these things vividly. And then it's kind of like nothing. You know, we've been teased a little bit. And those teams that win and beat undefeated teams on the road shows you what they're capable of.
Yeah. Let me ask you this on the way out. I'm sure when you were playing, the nature of players is I don't care what's going on around me. My head's down. I'm going to do my job. I don't care who the owner is. But you've been in this role for a long time now. You got to see a front row seat for the deterioration of the franchise. Where does ownership matter, and how does Josh Harris be a positive influence where Dan Snyder so clearly was not?
Structure. You know, it depends on how you build a football team. I saw a general manager in charge of football. I don't think it's possible for a coach to be in charge of football because you have too many emotional ties. I can't ask you to ask a man to damn near die for you and then tell that man he's out. That's too impersonal, and they don't. And I respect the fact that they have loyalty for their players. Shouldn't be their job. It should be an executive who comes up and says, analytics are in. This is not a joke. It's not a phase or a fad.
No, more information is better. It helps
more
make better
information
decisions.
is better. We have to do that, and he has done that in his prior franchise.
Sure has.
He's utilized analytics. I'm scared of anybody that doesn't believe in it because it's true. And the other thing about it comes down to letting the kids understand what's at stake, and I think they'll do all that.
For sure. Doc Walker will be on tonight following us.
Yes, sir.
And I think you guys start 6:30 on the Fan, and then
whenever they
simulcast?
say go. When you say you goodbye, we say hello.
All right. That's 7 over here on 980.
Oh, well,
6:30 over on the Fan following
All right.
Grant and
Good
Danny
deal. Thank you.
simulcast. You got it. Appreciate you. That's Doc Walker with us. You hear Cake saying what's up in the background. When he puts down that microphone on the stage, he's going to join us. That or two of the other junkies will. So we got the Junks coming up next. We're broadcasting live. Hey, Chris Russell's in the building, so you know it's a party. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Here's what's trending.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are live at the bullpen, live at the party at the pin. Our guy Lou, frequent caller, just came by and said, "What's up?" Doc's sitting here smoking a cigar, victory style. Vote expected to come down any minute now. I think I just saw Eric Bickle walk in, so I think EB is going to hop on with us in just a few minutes. Seeing all kinds of friends in the media around, so you can go bug your favorite reporter. We got all kinds of stuff happening down here. The band just started playing, so make sure you come on down and enjoy us. As I said earlier, like, this is about community, and there's no better place to come together today in the DMV to celebrate than right here, right now, at the bullpen. All right, Eric Bickle is making his way over here, so I will tell you real quick. We are supposed to, in just a little bit, as soon as the vote goes final, obviously we'll tell you the news here on the air. But Roger Goodell is also going to speak at a press conference. We will have it live here on the Team 980. So whenever Goodell speaks and kind of delivers the news, we will get that. EB, I'm going to stick you one chair over. I promise I'm wearing deodorant and the whole thing. But we also stream live on video. We're not on television like you, but I got the camera pointed at you right there. So you're going to take a seat. Schefter just tweeted, okay, we have the news. So we have I think the news that everyone has been waiting for. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up right now, see exactly what Adam said. But, ladies and gentlemen, NFL owners have unanimously approved the $6.05 billion sale of the Washington Commanders from Dan Snyder to a group led by Josh Harris, per league sources. So the votes are in, and the sale of the Commanders to Harris, Rails, Magic Johnson, and their group of limited partners, it's done. The final hurdle has been cleared. The only thing left is the paperwork to be signed, and Dan Snyder will finally be gone. After 24 years, his reign of terror, incompetence, and embarrassment is over. Ladies and gentlemen, the Burgundy and Gold has been sold. So we will have live reaction in just a moment here from the bullpen. Tim, tell you what, I would love to just kind of put that big crowd mic up in a second. Band's finishing the song right now. I'm sure people around, I don't know, Michael, if you heard this, like, people have already said, like, they're clearly getting the news, right? People are on their phones. They see the Schefter tweet. You hear a couple people giving the woo, giving the celebration. So as soon as this happens here, we'll get the big crowd reaction. But it's here. And we'll also take your calls next, 301-230-0980. Go ahead and start stacking up. Haney is back in studio ready to talk to you. 301-230-0980 is the phone number, and we'll get your reaction. How are you feeling? It is done. Dan Snyder is going to be selling the Commanders. It's been approved. All the hurdles have been cleared. It is just a matter of signing paperwork. This is the time when you're buying a house that you pop the champagne, the house is yours. You still have to go to the closing and do all that stupid paperwork, but the house is yours, and in this case, it's the team is yours once again. It's hard to put into words, as someone who's covered this for 8 years, what today ultimately means, because it is still a path to be forged. It's still a path to be clear, a path to be traveled down. It's something that we know is going to take time to build back up the infrastructure, or even just, forget infra, the structure that Doc was talking about just a few moments ago. What it's going to take to get FedEx Field to be a place that people actually want to go, for people to feel proud of this team, for them to have the people in the right places in the football organization to win games in the way that we want them to, obviously, over the course of not just an instant, like Rams-esque surge and then rapid decline, but to be competitive over the course of time. But that can't happen without good leadership. And based off of everything I know about Josh Harris, he is the right type of person to do this. Is he the only person that could have done it? Probably not. It seems like a lot of other owners have figured out how to do it. The NFL, in a lot of ways, is about just hiring the right people, and to hire the right people, you need some talent identification skills, but also a willingness to pay. And, Jerry Jones has paid for years. Kraft has paid in New England. And, they played McVay in L.A., and Stan Kroenke has been one to do that. Josh Harris, he didn't pay $6.05 billion to not pay. But Junkies are taking the stage here at the bullpen, so we're going to try to get this pumped up real quick.
I hope you guys have refilled your drinks because the time that we've been waiting for is officially upon us. So gather around, come on up, let's all celebrate in the fact that the Washington Commanders are no longer owned by one Daniel Snyder. The long DC nightmare is officially over. So let's everybody raise them up. Let me see them up on the deck. Raise up your glasses, raise up your bottles, and let's drink to a fun new era. The nightmare is done. Dan Snyder is dead. Long live Josh Harris. The Commanders are in good hands now. Let's celebrate here at the bullpen. Cheers! Let's go!
There you hear it. Cakes from the Junkies telling the crowd here at the bullpen. Man, what a day, what a day. As I thought we were gonna get some real shenanigans up there for a second. But I mean, again, it's gonna take time for this to ultimately sink in, but the biggest hurdle has been cleared. And I think there were so many people that doubted that this time was going to come. There's so many people that doubted that, he's never going to do it. And that's, I think, what I was getting to earlier, right? As someone who got here in 2015 covering this team, you were just resigned to the fact that they were going to be bad for a long time. And, they have these years where they bubble up, like 2012, like 2015, like 2007. There's too many good players in the NFL and too many good coaches around to be able to be terrible for everyone. I mean, the Browns, think about this, right? The Jets have the longest playoff streak in the league. That's 10 years. It's been 2010 or 12 years at this point. The Commanders are the only team since 1991 to not have an 11-win season. Everybody else in the last 25 years has won 11 games at least once. It's ultimately always going to be cyclical. The question is, can you break the baseline minimum of being okay every once in a while? And that's what this new leadership means. It also means, more importantly, that when you say, I'm a Commanders fan, there's no one that's going to look at you sideways. There's no one that's going to look at you and say, how could you possibly root for that team? The embarrassment, the shame, if you felt any, whether it was something you felt internally or something that was put on you by others, is gone. The deal has been approved, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. We expect Roger Goodell to announce it officially very soon. We will carry that for you live here on the Team 980. Your calls, though. Let's hear the joy, DC. I see B. Mitch in. We'll probably get him on in just a few moments. So, lots to go here. Hour 2. The party gets started on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. you would like to hear this song performed live, you need to be here by 7:30. Yeah, we're live. We are at the bullpen. It is the party at the pin. Burgundy and sold. And if you haven't heard the news, the Commanders have agreed to be sold. Dan Snyder has had his deal with Josh Harris approved, $6.05 billion. But we are drinking from a fire hose in terms of news, because the NFL has also released some of the findings of the Mary Jo White report. So we have a lot to get into over the next 2 hours. We are just rolling through. Not my beat. What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? You know what we're going to do. So we're just going to keep on rolling with the show today, just nonstop talking about every aspect of this story. The joy. We will talk about some of the serious stuff as I get into what is happening with the Mary Jo White report. To be honest, I just found out about that 30 seconds before we came back, so I haven't had a chance to read anything yet. So let's start off with some of the joy, the sale. Your reactions, 301-230-0980 in just a moment. The first thing I'll do, though, is read a statement, as the NFL has sent out an official release from Roger Goodell, who you will hear live from later today as well. Congratulations to Josh Harris and his impressive group of partners. Josh will be a great addition to the NFL. He has a remarkable record in business, sports, and in his communities. The diverse group that Josh has put together is outstanding for its business acumen and strong Washington ties, and we welcome them to the NFL as well. I met Josh several years ago prior to his acquisition of an interest in the Steelers, and have been fortunate to get to know him better over the past few months. I know he has a commitment to winning on the field, but also to running an organization that everyone will be proud of, and to making positive contributions in the community. Holy crap, Eminem, it's like Roger Goodell was listening to my radio show. All right, again, we are streaming live on YouTube right now, youtube.com/@theteam980. We'll get the crowd mic going, crowd cam going in just a few minutes, but let's head to the phones. I'm currently suffering way too many tabs open. Anthony, that's probably a fine by me to not have the call sheet up. Looks like we got Lap ready to go, though. Lap, what's up, man? What a day. Thanks for calling in. Get us started with the calls and the reaction.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I'm just excited, man. I mean, we see what happened with the Wizards, man, and now this news, man. I'm just grateful, man. I know the fans, and some of the fans that left, man, come on back, man. We need y'all. We need that original love and support, man. With Snyder, man, I always thought he was a jerk, just overall. But his photos, he looked like a pedophile, man. I always thought that was something weird about the guy. But I'm just glad that he's out of here, man, and we got a new ownership, a new direction, a new vision. And if we can get focused onto winning football, man, this place will be electric. And I want the stadium in D.C., but at this point, man, we just got to celebrate it one win at a time. Hey, Craig, do you think they're going to change the name since that would be the last connection to Snyder? Or what do you think? Because that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, Lap, thanks for the call. We'll take more of them, 301-230-0980. I do not believe they will change the name again. It's not going back. I know a lot of people want that to happen. That is absolutely not on the table. The question is whether or not they would change it again. Here's what I've said all along. I don't think they will, because it's very expensive, and I think that the best thing they can do to make this name work is for them to win games and engender, again, those positive feelings. The problem is right now I say Commanders, and people think immediately losers, embarrassment, Dan Snyder. You go win a couple of playoff games and Sam Howell plays well, and Terry McLaurin proves he's one of the best in the league, and Chase Young has a breakout year, and people are going to say, hey, that's Chase, Captain Commander. That's Commander Sam at the helm. And people are going to be pumped, and it's going to be awesome. And people will have positive feelings, and the name will no longer be an issue, except for the hardcore fans who want the name back the way it was, and they were never going to get what they wanted anyway. But let's say 2 or 3 years go by and things are still mediocre, things are still apathetic. Could I see them in 2027, 28, especially when we get to 2029, 2030, because they're trying to build this new stadium at RFK, rebranding and opening a new stadium at the same time? That I could see. That is kind of the holdout. If the most important thing to you is the name change. One, you're going to have people, you want them to continue being mediocre to bad. So I don't think that most people want that. But if that really is what it takes to get the name change, which you think is more important, then I would think that you want it. You want that to happen around the time the stadium is open. Anthony, I think you just said in my ear Roger Goodell is speaking.
Yes.
All right, Roger Goodell at the podium. You will hear it if you're on the live stream and obviously on the radio as you take in the sights and sounds of everything happening here at Navy Yard. But here is Roger Goodell, NFL Commissioner.
I know he's in good hands with this group, so we're thrilled to have him. And so we'll invite Josh up. He'll take a few questions, and then I'll be back for a few more questions.
Thanks, Roger.
Yep.
Josh is about to talk.
Hello, everyone. It's an exciting day. And Commissioner, thank you for voting for us and allowing us to be partners and great stewards in the NFL. And we're excited for your trust, and we will not let you down. So as a lifelong Washington football fan that grew up in Chevy Chase, I'm incredibly excited and humbled by the opportunity to serve alongside my partners as stewards of this great franchise on behalf of the city of Washington, D.C. One of my first memories as a child was walking down East Capitol Street, walking into RFK Stadium, hearing the roar of the crowd, feeling the rumble. I grew up watching Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, Joe Theismann, Mark Rippon, Doug Williams, the Hogs, Joe Gibbs, Darryl Green, Art Monk, and 3 Super Bowls. And I remember that's the Washington, then Redskins, now Commanders that I remember. This franchise is part of who I am and who I've become as a person. But being a fan is not enough. To be successful, we understand that we need to win championships, create a positive impact on the community, and create incredible memories and great experiences for our fan base, much like I had as a youth growing up in Washington. We'll have more to say in the days that come, but today I want to leave it here. To our team and the incredible fan base in Washington, a new era of Washington football is here. It's time to get to work. Thank you.
Josh, this obviously was an up and down process. What are your feelings about the process as you get to the end of it? And also, do you have a sense of the significance that this day holds for both the fan base and for the league as a whole?
Yeah, look, obviously it was a long process. Sometimes that's what happens. We're very excited to get to work and to start the new era of Washington football. And we are humbled and awed by the level of responsibility that we have to take care of the city and to win championships and to, really excite the fans again.
Next question, John. You just stated how you grew up as a Washington fan.
I did.
Has it been hard for you to see how the team has kind of deteriorated over the last couple decades? And what do you feel is a responsibility to kind of rebuild that? And how, is it an immense responsibility?
Yeah, look, obviously it's an amazing day for me and very exciting, but I've had many sleepless nights and I will have many sleepless nights. Look, I'm going to sweat this. I feel an awesome sense of responsibility to the city of Washington. I know what I got to do. And ultimately that comes down to winning, and it's not easy. There are 31 other owners that are good at what they do. There are 31 other cities. But it's on me and it's on our ownership group to deliver, and that's what we're going to do.
Hey, Josh, congrats. You've talked about the glory years and everything, and all of that was at RFK Stadium. Roger Goodell, last time we spoke, he said he understands how important RFK is. How important is RFK to you, and how do you view that in the prism of the new brand? And are there a lot of things for you to consider there?
Yeah, look, obviously we're just getting here, and we're on the eve of training camp, which starts, obviously this weekend and into next week. And, our first priority is going to be football and what we do on the field. We're hard at work trying to figure out how we improve fan experience and then we're going to start engaging with the community. Those are our 3 priorities, and obviously there's a lot of things. I mean, what I love about Washington, it has incredibly passionate football fans, and they want to talk about a lot of things, and obviously that's one of them, and we're going to be focused on that. But right now it's day one, and it's going to take a while to unpack what really makes sense. As far as RFK, I mean, obviously I understand it's the spiritual home of the history of the Commanders.
Hey there. I know that you have a home in Philadelphia, New Jersey, obviously owning different teams and different sports. How involved do you see yourself being with the Commanders? Do you see yourself being in Washington a lot of the time?
Yeah, so look, first of all, my mom is in Washington. My friends, where I grew up, she's still there. So I'm going to be in Washington a lot. I need to be present. I'm going to be part of the community again. I'm really looking forward to coming home. Cousins, friends, and so, yeah, I have a lot going on. But, you know, this is incredibly important right now for this city. And I'm going to be remembered for what I do in Washington, and so that's not lost on me. And so I'm all in.
Let's go next. Ben from The Athletic.
Hey, Josh. You mentioned the football side of things. Obviously, you've got a lot to evaluate. But how much have you been already studying, and how much have you been kind of aware of, you know, what's been going on that side of the building?
Yeah, so we haven't really had a lot of access. Before you own an NFL team or pick to own an NFL team, really there's a lot of different rules to staying away. So I've obviously met the football staff, and I've obviously witnessed what they've done from the outside in terms of some of the improvements they've brought to the team over the last few years. It's a big, important season, but you know, day one we're going to be engaging with them and trying to understand how they tick and what they do. And so for the first season, right? We're
it's all good.
Right at training camp.
You're good.
The reality is that a lot of what you do as in ownership to affect a team happens prior to this point. And so we're going to be doing a lot of listening and learning and watching, and you know, watching what Ron and his staff do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. See you soon.
You up, Craig?
All right, that is Josh Harris. Anthony, can you, real quick before we toss to break and decide what we're going to do here, is Goodell stepping back up? Yeah. All right, Goodell is back up, so we'll go back to Roger Goodell.
Judy.
Roger, in other news, Mary Jo White released her report today and briefed the owners, and among other things in there, she substantiated an allegation that Dan Snyder himself committed sexual harassment and that there was also underreporting revenue. I wonder your reaction to her findings.
Well, I think the findings speak for themselves. We had an obligation to release those publicly. We did. We shared those with the ownership today. Had a full discussion of that. You know, that's the findings do speak for themselves. You know, in both cases, particularly with Ms. Johnson, that's inappropriate. It's the wrong, and it doesn't match our values. And so, again, her findings were clear, and her findings.
Okay, we'll go for a couple here. We'll go to Nikki from Washington Post.
Hi, Nikki.
Also in relation to the Mary Jo White findings, do you feel confident that the recourse the league took with him having that the recourse the league took in having to have Dan Snyder pay $60 million back to owners is sufficient penalty for the things he was found to have done?
Well, the payment that will be made will be, you know, in resolution of the Mary Jo White findings, as well as resolution of all outstanding matters. So, yes, we do.
Dave Campbell, Associated Press.
Roger, I guess how important it is for this franchise to sort of be able to move forward from all of this stuff now.
Well, I was smiling a little bit in the context of hearing Josh talk about his memories as a kid who grew up probably a mile away from where Josh did. I could understand the feelings of what that team means to that community. And it's an important asset for that community, but it's more than an asset. It's the community believes deeply in that franchise. So The great news is Josh and his ownership group, who are so deeply rooted in that organization, care deeply. They understand the community. They want to put that franchise where they believe it belongs, where it's respected not just in the community but worldwide. And they're committed to that. I think the ownership recognize that.
Last question, Ben Fisher.
Roger, could you, I guess, show your work, if you will, on the 60 million figure? Why that number in particular?
As I said, it was a resolution of all the outstanding matters, including Mary Jo White's findings. It was something that the Finance Committee considered, recommended unanimously, and the membership accepted unanimously.
All right, that is Roger Goodell, and before that, Josh Harris from Minneapolis. We're live at the bullpen here on the Team 980. A ton to react to, a ton of people here to react. We will do more of it next live on the Hoffman Show, the Team 980. Always live on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. All right, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. What's up? How are you doing? Excellent. We got people all over the place just coming up, saying hello here on the Team 980, streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. You'll hear again if you missed any of Josh Harris. We got the sound for you in a moment. JP Flaime from the Sports Junkies is going to join us coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, though, quickly, I just got this in from the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. The new owners of the Commanders are taking the helm of a team with a remarkable history, one that stretches back almost 100 years and includes 3 Super Bowl victories. It's also a team that is looking toward the future. Maryland is excited to welcome this new leadership group and looks forward to working together on a vision for the next generation of Commanders football. For 25 years, the Commanders have called PG County home, and Governor Moore is committed to ensuring this long-standing partnership continues for the next generation. The Miller-Moore administration has already put forward major economic and transportation investments near FedEx Field along the Blue Line corridor, which includes $400 million in state funding. The governor congratulates the new ownership group and looks forward to continuing conversations about the future of the NFL's 5th winningest franchise in Prince George's County. So obviously, they want to keep the team. Josh Harris was asked about RFK by JP Flaime. He called it the spiritual home of the team, but didn't say more. We'll certainly hear more from officials in Virginia and D.C. over the next couple of days. But this, to me, was the most interesting thing Josh Harris said. He understands what he is taking on as someone who grew up loving this team, is from the area, and now takes over the ownership.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously it was a long process. Sometimes that's what happens. We're very excited to get to work and to start the new era of Washington football. And, yeah, I mean, we are humbled and awed by the level of responsibility that we have to take care of the city and to win championships and to, really excite the fans again.
So that was Josh Harris just a few moments ago. I was really struck by one particular thing that Josh Harris said. Harris said, being a fan is not enough. Like, he is a fan. He is someone who grew up rooting for this team. He said he's had some sleepless nights, has thought about what it means to own this team, and so has, been sad watching them, be bad for 25 years, be embarrassing for much of that 24-year stretch that Snyder owns it. But Dan was a fan too. Now the question is, what happens when you get someone new in charge that also cares but doesn't treat it like being a fan? That is ultimately the question that we'll answer over the course of the next 25 years, hopefully not quite as long. And we'll start answering it next. JP Flaime just sat down. We'll take a quick break, come right back with JP from the Junkies here on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. All right, welcome back. It's the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live on the free Odyssey app, and that is where 6 to 10 each and every morning you can hear the Sports Junkies, and it's our pleasure to welcome JP Flaime on set.
What's up, Craig?
Good to have you, man.
I told you this off air. Congratulations on 1 year.
Thank
your
you.
own show. That's great.
Thank you. So I asked, we had cakes on last week. I don't know. What is the day anymore? Time's a flat circle.
Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
The 20th.
Yeah, that part I can remember. I don't remember when cakes was. I think it was last Friday. But I asked him a hypothetical, or not really a hypothetical, but like, think back to, let's put your brain in 2012, right? You guys are at that point a couple years in on the Fan. You've been doing the show for 15, 17 years, something like that at that point. Robert Griffin III is running around, looks like the future of the franchise. And I tell you, hey, man, in 11 years, you're going to be the morning show, not just on this station, but on 980, which at the time we were not friends, to say it lightly. And Dan Snyder's going to sell the football team. Kirk Cousins is going to be one of the higher-paid quarterbacks in the league. And Robert Griffin is going to be an analyst for ESPN, and he will have been for like 4 years at that point. Which part is most unbelievable to you?
The most unbelievable part at that time in 2012 would be the Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Because RG3 was taking over the city. EB says it all the time. He called him RGesus. There were some of us that were a little skeptical. I used to call him RG Screen because I thought it was a lot of easy work for him. But RG3 had taken over, and this city was on fire. I always say this. When people complain about the stadium, they complain about the parking, they complain about the drive-in, they weren't complaining about that in 2012. They were just into winning and the hope for the future. So I think
worth it.
Kirk Cousins was the most far-fetched because he was a backup and nobody was thinking about him.
Except for like Kyle Shanahan, because he was like, we got to draft this guy in the 4th round. Turns out that Shanahan guy's kind of smart. You've been a fan of this team your whole life. You've been doing the show, with these fans, these people listening to you for 25 years at this point. Like, what does today mean to you?
It's crazy. You know what? Just kind of mingling with people here. There's a great turnout here at the bullpen. I was telling people, it's not like they won a game. It's an atmosphere of like winning a huge game. And there hasn't been a game. It's just an ownership change, but it's hope. You hear the phrase by doing the show, same old skins. And that's what it's been really for the last decade plus, maybe even 15, 20 years, that you kind of just expect this team to be mediocre, maybe worse than mediocre. And there aren't great expectations. And now there's hope for the future.
When do you think it turned that hope died? Because, sports fans are the most irrational group of people when it comes to hope. Every single year. It's the beauty of the NFL, because occasionally that irrational hope is rewarded and people are right. But in the NFL, every year, it's like, oh, this could be the year. People convince themselves by the time January ends and August comes around and camp begins that, hey, we just got to if we get a little bit of health and this guy has a career year and this, that, and the other thing. But it feels like and this has happened since I got here in 2015, that people were like, I don't know, man, the incompetence of ownership really seems to make it so this isn't possible. When do you think that changed?
It's a tough call, man. I'd say it's been a roller coaster during Snyder. There have been occasional flare-ups, whether it's 2012 with RG3, also the splashy hires. But if you go way back, he fires Schottenheimer after Schottenheimer wins 8 of his last 11 games. And you're like, whoa, what's this guy doing? Then he starts bringing in splashy players and splashy coaches like Steve Spurrier. The hope flares up when Joe Gibbs comes back, but that doesn't even work out. So I think there was some hopelessness that started right around kind of the Joe Gibbs time because, yes, they made the playoffs twice, but he still had a losing record. Joe Gibbs had a losing record in his return. That's a Hall of Fame coach who's won in NASCAR. He comes back, deals with Snyder, and it just doesn't work out. Then you have Shanny. I thought Shanny and McNabb was going to be unbelievable. I was like, West Coast offense, Mike Shanahan. That doesn't work out. So at some point, people get beaten down over and over and over again, and that hopelessness kind of sets in.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. JP Flaime from the Junkies is here with us. The off-the-field stuff is a separate conversation. Obviously, like the Mary Jo White report drops today. I was trying to read through it in the breaks. There's new stuff in there. It's not great. We're going to deal with that tomorrow. Today's the day to celebrate. But so pushing that temporarily to the side. From a football standpoint, what are the big missed opportunities? What are the things when you look back and the most frustrated you were in the Snyder era?
Well, again, I'll go back all the way to Marty Schottenheimer because that was a team that was heading in the right direction. But I would say, you mentioned Kirk Cousins before. What if they had Kirk Cousins the last 5 or 6 years?
Totally.
Wouldn't they be contending for playoff spots? Think about it. They were 8-1 last year with awful quarterback play from Carson Wentz, 2-5, awful quarterback play from Taylor Heineke, and they're within a game of making the playoffs. If you just have competent quarterbacking, you're going to be far better off. So I think a lot of the fan base, was torn between RG3 and Kirk Cousins for a while, and Kirk is one of those guys that nobody completely wraps their arms around him, but yet he's much better than what they've had. What have they had? 7 starting quarterbacks in the last 7 years?
I mean, I get in fights with callers about this all the time, and this is not me being like, Kirk's awesome, but like, he's the best quarterback since they won the Super Bowl, and it's not even close. Like, there may be individual seasons of guys. Obviously, Roberts 12. Campbell had a couple years that were impressive, but like, Kirk's the 4th leading passer in the history of the franchise. That's how low the bar is. It's not that Kirk is incredible. He's very good. But, like, the thing that I think is interesting, JP, if you talk to folks in the organization, is there was something that happened in 2017 that just broke the fan base. Season tickets dropped. Everything just plummeted. Like, despite all of the stuff. And at that point, there's rumblings of bad things happening behind the scenes. Snyder, at that point, had been treating fans terribly for 20 years. Like, there's all kinds of reasons, plus the football incompetence, for people to have already been off the boat. And something snapped in 2017 where people just said enough. And I don't think it's just Kirk leaving, but I do think for a lot of people, like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because it represented just the sheer incompetence of not realizing how to even sustain some level of competitiveness, nevertheless striving to be good.
Well, you took me back to 2012 with your hypothetical question with different scenarios, but if you go all the way back to when Dan Snyder takes over, there's no way you could have imagined it to have gone this bad. They have 2 playoff wins in the entire Dan Snyder era. They don't have an 11-win season. Like, we joke about it all the time, how much money Dan Snyder cost us, because we get ratings bonuses, and you know this.
Yeah.
When the teams do well, more people go to games, so of course more people want to check out a radio show, TV shows about their favorite team. When teams lose, apathy sets in. People don't care.
Yep.
That same old Skins mentality is there. That's why I say the feeling that I get from most people is just, it's hope. Look, Sam Howell may be terrible this year. We don't know.
Maybe.
He may be terrible. They could go 3-14 because they've got a quarterback. Let's just say, hypothetically, he's Rex Grossman-like and throws a ton of interceptions, and it's a turnover fest, and they're in a tough division. But there's still hope right now.
Right. Well, at that point, hey, sign us up for the Caleb Williams experience.
There you go.
Heidi-ho. You want a stat that I pieced together earlier today. I think I kind of pieced it together from 2 parts of Sheehan's monologue, so I'll give Kevin credit. They have as many ties as they do playoff wins in 24 years. It's 2 of each.
Yeah, and the playoff thing, too, it was fun when they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we know every time they've been to the playoffs that they're not a serious contender for a Super Bowl. I mean, the last playoff run, Taylor Heineke's quarterback, he's running around. It's fun. They had a losing record. They got in.
Right.
Other times during the last 25 years, it's some sort of late season run. They get hot, Todd Collins, whatever. They
even
get
15 with
Kirk. But
Kirk.
they haven't been a serious contender.
Yeah, no, even 15 with Kirk, they got hot late. Like, that team was fun as hell to cover. And there were people at the time being like, I can see it building towards something. But I think that was the thing, is like that 15 team gave them some semblance of hope, and then they screw it up. And I think also, like, we almost forget now, Bruce was so insulting to our collective intelligence. Like, when they would come out and be like, we offered him the richest contract, and it's like, no, you didn't. Like, that contract makes no sense for him to sign. So, Heidi-ho, Bruce, see ya. Go. Maybe he and Dan will get back. Probably not. I don't think they.
Probably not.
Like
I think it was Pete Haley that posted the video today.
I remember. I was there for that.
I forgot when Bruce is walking by in his suit and Dan, they just go opposite directions. How good is that?
I have a very similar video somewhere on Twitter because I was there for that. Right. And someone liked it the other day, and it popped back up in my feed, and I was like, oh, I remember that. What a time. All right, so that's the what has been. Looking forward now. Let's kind of Commanders Josh Harris bingo card this. How important to you, JP Flaime, is the name and the brand? Can they build this fan base back if they are the Washington Commanders?
All right, on the Junkie Show, let's be straight. I'm not a Commanders fan. I grew up, my father came from Italy. I grew up liking the Baltimore teams. I root for the Commanders now. I actually painted a bedroom for my daughter, who's a huge Redskins / Commanders fan, burgundy and gold out of the Brian Arakpo Fathead. Cakes does the Brian Arakpo voice.
We'll have to get him over here.
In the spirit,
not far away.
In the spirit of the Fathead. So I don't know if I'm a true representation of the Commander fan base to answer your question.
Well, I'll ask you as you though. Like you get to put on your analyst hat then, right? You're someone who's been interacting with this fan base for 25 years. So from your perspective, whether it's your personal feelings as a fan or not, for someone who sits in the seat you do, which you just defined very well, do you think they can?
Can what?
Can bring the fan base back?
Super Bowl, bring the fan base back.
Bring the fan base back with the brand what it is right now, or do they need to look at it?
I think that the Commander's name, again, I might be in a minority, and I'm not passionate about the Redskins' name.
Right.
I think winning cures all.
I'm with you.
So if they can get to winning, people are going to be fired up. People like Mike Mars wearing a Commander's jersey right now, clearly a knockoff. I can tell by the stitching.
They might.
And,
they're expensive, man.
I agree. But people will wear their knockoffs and they'll wear their legit jerseys because they're winning. Right now, people are so fired up simply because there's a new owner. Nobody knows anything about Josh Harris. They've read, he owns the Sixers, he owns the Flyers, whatever. They don't really know anything about him. And we may never even know that much about him. It's all about winning. Even the stuff you're talking about, the Mary Jo White investigation, people would have been bothered by that. But had this team been going 10-6, 11-6, 12-5 the last couple of seasons, that would be on page like D8 of the Washington Post if you want to go with like an old school sports section thing.
Yeah.
It would not be a front page thing. The front page would be about a team winning. So I think, and none of us know what Josh Harris is going to say tomorrow. Maybe he's going to go there and say, hey, I'm bringing the Redskins name back. I highly doubt that. I think because of the political climate, it's not going to happen.
Considering the sponsors that pushed it away, no way.
Maybe they do move on and they rename it again. But can you imagine? That would be 4 names in 4 years? Or 4 names in 5 years?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the name is down the list.
I tend to think that, and I've said this a million times, but so my audience that listens every day, sorry you're hearing it for the 1,000,001, or 1,000,001st, but the reason nobody likes Commanders is because they associate it with incompetence and apathy and whatever, and if they go out and win, if Sam Howell's awesome or Caleb Williams is awesome, they'll associate it with that and they'll be fine. RFK.
Similar. Wizards.
Yeah.
Nobody liked the Wizards name. Guess what? When John Wall was at the height of his powers, and it's sad, the height of his powers is second round against the Celtics, jumping on the table, but the place was raucous and everybody was into
awesome.
it. Nobody was going, man, this name sucks at that moment.
Right.
People get over the name if you can win.
100%. And it's generational as well. The farther we get removed, if they can build new memories, there will be people who like it because they associate it with happiness. Stadium, that's next on the bingo card. Do you have a place where you're like, it's got to be at RFK, or I think it's smart to go to Virginia, I hope it stays in Maryland? Like, where are you at on the stadium?
I think the dream scenario is RFK.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the politics. We've been talking about this for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about this thing forever, and it hasn't moved. So we'll see if the ball moves. I don't think it would be optimal for them to move all the way out to Dumfries, way out there, because I know this. Like, I coach a flag football team, and sometimes I'll ask the kids, who do you root for? And over the years, more and more have moved to the Ravens. I live in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Right.
So that really should be Commanders country, Redskins country, but more and more are moving to the Ravens. Now, a lot of young kids also come up and they just like their fantasy players. They're not really passionate about a team.
Very good fantasy
But I feel
player.
like if they move all the way out in Virginia, you're going to lose a lot of Maryland.
Yeah, I think that is an issue. The problem is I look at a team like the Niners that moved to Santa Clara, and they're just like, tough. Now, of course, they're in a bit different boat because, they don't have the Raiders, for instance, anymore in Oakland pulling people away, so they can kind of get away with it, versus if you're in Maryland and all of a sudden the team is farther away, it's easier to root for the Ravens.
Again, to my previous point,
but, teams don't seem to care about it anymore. They'll just put the team wherever they can get the land.
But to my previous point, if you build a winner,
a
consistent winner, people will go.
Yeah.
During that 2012 RG3 year, people weren't bitching about the traffic as much. People weren't bitching about going to the games.
Yeah.
They were packing the house and caught up in the excitement and the buzz, just like people are caught up in the excitement here.
Right. What do you guys got coming up tomorrow morning? What's the plan?
I mean, I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about this.
Thanks. I couldn't figure that one out. Anything in particular that you're excited for? Anybody? Like, let me ask you this. This is the last question I'll ask you on the way out. If you could book anybody tomorrow outside of one of the owners, like, yeah, if you could get Magic Johnson on the show, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But not non-ownership group. You could talk to one person tomorrow. Who would it be?
Sam Howell.
Okay.
Would you want to talk to Sam Howell? It has nothing to do with the ownership.
Sure.
But once we get beyond this ownership, we're going to quickly move into training camp. And what is the number one thing people are talking about?
Sure.
Sam Howell, Chase Young. So, yeah, I'd want one of those two guys because I think that once we get beyond this joy, this euphoria here for the next couple of days, well, now it's going to be like, can this team contend? Where does this team fit? Are they a playoff contender? Is this Ron Rivera's last year? So I'll go straight to the quarterback.
That's not a bad one. I just think players, like Sam Howell is so young, he doesn't have any idea about any of this stuff.
I don't need to ask him about this.
Chase would be interesting, though, because
Yeah.
Chase was a Dan guy.
Yeah.
Like, they had a relationship. So Chase Young I'd be interested in.
Who would be your dream guy?
I feel like Doug Williams. We actually are going to have Mark Rippon on the show next week.
Doug is always good.
So, like, someone who has seen it at its best, someone who's seen it through its worst, someone who is invested in the future. I want that perspective. And we actually are going to have Rippon on next week. We're going to have Don Van Natta on tomorrow. So, like, there's some interesting different angles. But I do think current players like Terry or John Allen, I think, would be interesting because they've been here long enough to kind of have a feel for this fan base in a way that, like, all Howell knows is people are hoping he's really good.
That's true.
So,
but I feel like, I'm kind of working in that radio tease in the brain. Like,
hey,
guess who we have on tomorrow? Sam Howell.
Yeah,
That's going to get people to check it out.
That is 100% true.
He may be a dud, but the tease is effective.
Let me say this. Sean DeBarbieri, Gene Medina, Charlie, all the Commanders PR staff. If y'all are listening and you want Sam Howell on the show tomorrow, I will take him. I will just say that. JP Flaime and the Junkies, 6 to 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Appreciate you coming on, man. All right, we'll see those guys tomorrow morning. We get back, you'll hear a little bit more from Josh Harris here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we are streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/@theteam980, where we have set a record number of streamers today. Appreciate everyone who is listening in. Our guy Blaine is there. We got Yak Dog 24. We got Jason, Jimmy, Tommy. All kinds of folks checking in. Appreciate it. Nicole, thank you for tuning in on the stream. YouTube.com/@theteam980. We got not just staring at me talking, but we're showing you some of the scenes too. Here at the bullpen, we are live. The party at the pin, Burgundy and Sold here on the Team 980. A little bit earlier in the show, we heard from Josh Harris. If you missed that, the Commanders' new owner, of course, the breaking news is that the NFL owners have agreed to the deal. Harris spoke, as did Roger Goodell, but he was asked about building this team back up to prominence. Of course, someone who was a fan as a kid, growing up in Chevy Chase in the Bethesda area. Here was Harris earlier today.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously it's an amazing day for me and very exciting, but I've had many sleepless nights, and I will have many sleepless nights. Look, I'm going to sweat this. I feel an awesome sense of responsibility to the city of Washington. I know what I got to do, and ultimately that comes down to winning, and it's not easy. There are 31 other owners that are good at what they do. There are 31 other cities, but it's on me and it's on our ownership group to deliver, and that's what we're going to do.
That is so interesting to me for so many reasons, because we're coming off an ownership group that never took responsibility for anything, that was always passing the buck. And to hear Josh Harris say, I'm going to sweat this. This is on me. This is my responsibility. I know how much this means. He could very easily have even done something that, like, I played fake Josh Harris yesterday for our mock press conference. If you missed that, it was a good time. You can check out on the podcast or on YouTube. But it was a lot of like I firmly believe that often the best way to approach these things when you have an ownership group, for instance, is to say, we're going to do us. And it takes the pressure off of you a little bit as a person, but it also kind of includes everybody. But considering what Josh Harris just signed up for, to hear him not do that, even though he has the largest ownership group in the NFL now, I do believe, with all these limited partners, to say, I'm going to sweat this. I know what I signed up for. This is my responsibility. Considering Dan Snyder was the antithesis of that, someone who never took ownership of anything and for which everything that went wrong was always someone else's fault, it's tremendous. I love hearing that so much. Look, it's not hard to impress us here after what we've been through with the last owner, but Josh Harris does sound like the kind of guy that is going to be successful, which is probably why he's been successful in so many other ventures in his life. On how involved he'll be here. He does still own the Sixers. He does still own the Devils. He's got a large share of an English Premier League team. DC, as of now, at the very least, isn't his primary home. But Mama lives here, and so did now his football team. Here's Josh Harris answering that question.
Yeah, so look, first of all, my mom is in Washington. My friends, where I grew up, she's still there. So I'm going to be in Washington a lot. I need to be present. I'm going to be part of the community again. I'm really looking forward to coming home. Cousins, friends, and so, yeah, I have a lot going on. But, this is incredibly important right now for this city. And I'm going to be remembered for what I do in Washington, and so that's not lost on me. And so I'm all in.
This is a legacy purchase for Josh Harris. He knows it. It was like that whether he wanted it to be or not. The good news is he wants it to be that way. Let's get back to your calls. 301-230-0980. I think it might be time to activate the crowd mic too. Tim, Mike, think it's time? All right, so we get some live reaction here on set at the bullpen. Mix that in with your calls. 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. Live from the bullpen at Navy Yard, this is Burgundy and Soul Party at the Pin, the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. It is a zoo here. I'm gonna pick up this camera and we're just gonna, I think there's some tape on it, so maybe not. There we go. All right, see if we can get the people a view here. Yep, it's chaos and craziness all around here at the bullpen. Just every time I feel like I look up, we got even more people coming here to the bullpen. And I can't say why, but I do think the crowd is going to go crazy pretty soon. I've been sworn to secrecy, but we're having a good time down here. And this is in so many ways what we wanted today to be, about the community coming together. Sheehan just got here. There he is. Someone was just asking, where's Kevin? Kevin's here. Michael, in fact, if we can pull Kevin over here, let's let him say hi to people and do his thing, but be a celebrity. You know, he's a very important person, but eventually we'll get Sheehan on the air over here. Just a magical day. The sale goes through, in case you missed it earlier. Also, the Mary Jo White report drops. We will talk about that more tomorrow. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, and there's a lot more to that. I think even some new information that came out in that report. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, kind of put a bow on that, and thus officially put a bow on the Snyder era, which also we will be able to do tomorrow because it will be official. Today is, the way I describe it is, today is the day that you get over the last hurdle, right? You're doing a 400-meter race, and you get over that last hurdle. At that point, if you're in the lead, you probably, if you're Sidney McLaughlin, there's no one within 3 hurdles of you, but you put your hands over your head and you get to run across the finish line knowing you're going to be the champion. You've done the hard part. It's just a matter of not tripping in the final whatever. Like Josh Harris just has to spell his name right on the paperwork tomorrow. But he's still got to sign his name on the paperwork, and then it'll be officially closed. He'll officially be handed the keys, so to speak, possibly, proverbially, possibly, literally. I don't know how that works. When you buy a football team, like, how does it work for your key card to the building? I don't know, but Josh Harris is going to find out tomorrow. And so we'll talk about all that, obviously, throughout the weekend. Live coverage tonight till 9:30 here on the station. I see Linnell and Doc getting going in 30 minutes over on the Fan. I know Grant and Danny are having a great time out at Old Ox Brewery. So it's a chaos. It's a zoo here, and it's the best kind. It's just a bunch of shiny, happy people reclaiming, to go back to where I started the show, reclaiming the thing that makes sports great, reclaiming the community, reclaiming the fact that this is a team that everyone can be proud to be a part of, a fan base that people can be proud to be a part of. And even if you were someone who the whole time was like, I don't care what's going on, I'm here to root for the players, I'm going to still wear my burgundy and gold, and you never wavered. You still have people that like, in your friend group, like, let's say you had a group chat going, and there were 20 people in the group chat about your favorite football team. Well, by the time 2017 came around, maybe that was 19. And then by 2020, it was 16. And now it's like 12. Well, now you get to go back to that original 20-person group chat and be like, hey, you guys interested again? And that's what today is about. It's about reopening that door, knowing that ultimately this is a team that, with Josh Harris and Magic Johnson and Mitchell Rales and Mark Ine and the rest of the crew at the helm, that you can be proud of, that you know you can root for, that you know is not going to cause you shame and embarrassment. Whether they're going to be good or not, we'll see. And I do, there's some people that are more focused on football than others. I thought that was interesting when JP Flaime sat down from the Junkies to say, all I really care about is turning the page. Let's talk about training camp. I think there's so many interesting facets here to discuss with what they do with the brand, which I know is something that Kevin is very keen on. They do stuff with the uniforms. Real quick, though, Tim, can we pot up the mic so people can hear what is about to happen here? So we got Cakes back on stage. Major announcement coming. So I think folks can hear. I think we're going to try to pump it up a little bit. But there's Cakes up there if you're watching on the stream. There we go.
No longer. Josh Harris is the new man in charge in D.C. And I was told by very good
pull that back down because Cakes has had a few beers, and I don't know, Anthony, how much of that actually made the air because Cakes used some words that we're not allowed to use on the radio. But the announcement, Josh Harris has bought everyone here at the bullpen a beer. Where's my beer? Can I be first? Am I allowed to drink on the air? Nope. Okay, I'm getting a no from Tim, the engineer. Tim doesn't care. You should care, Tim. What is wrong with you? You're trying to get me in trouble? Good gracious, man. But how about that? Josh Harris, and I heard it's not just here, Eminem. Everyone at Old Ox at the fan event there is getting a beer. So Josh Harris, and I don't need to do this to Dan Snyder, but I don't care. Just think about the first thing you heard about Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder ran out of the room when he got the team to go and call his dad, but he pushed away the press and never really talked to anybody. And the first thing Josh Harris did was, from a ballroom somewhere in Minneapolis, call in. I think he called our studio and was like, hey, everyone at these parties, beer's on me. What a contrast. What a contrast. What a time. Anthony, back in studio, how much of that actually made the air?
Not a lot. I know I hit the dump button like 4 times.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Luckily, YouTube is not relegated or regulated by the FCC. So we if you want to know what was said, you can go on YouTube and you can watch the clip later. The podcast, Anthony, I'll say this: when you edit the podcast, if you want to bleep it, that's good. We're not going to get in legal trouble, but I think company policy is to not have swearing in our podcast.
Yep.
So we can just bleep it.
Gotcha.
And people can understand. But the general gist of it was Josh Harris is buying everyone a bloody beer. I think that's a good way to phrase that, where nobody gets in trouble. Man, that's awesome. You want to rebuild community? You want to rebuild what was? One beer's only going to get you so far, but you never get a second chance at a first impression. And I think, like, what that shows beyond, like, oh, hey, yeah, it's cheap and easy to buy everyone a beer. Look, when you've got enough money to buy a $6 billion football team, buying 1,000 people a beer is not that much of an expense. However, what it does show is you're in touch. And I think that's the thing that, like, if I actually want to make, like, any kind of meaningful conclusion out of this, it's that. How often have we talked about how out of touch, aloof, disconnected from reality Dan Snyder was and is? And Josh, like, does Dan Snyder know these parties are even happening? I feel like he's got to. He might. Someone might have put it on his radar. But Josh Harris has a lot going on, man. He just bought a football team. And what is he doing? He's like, hey, I know there's parties back in D.C. that, by the way, these radio stations that don't carry our games are not our partners. We don't have a business relationship with the Commanders. We don't have a business relationship. We have a working relationship. We used to, on this station, carry the games. We're the official partner. Now our colleagues on another radio station do that, and that's fine. But you want to talk about being aware and being in touch and understanding where the people are, who your fans are, and a way to reach them. People came out here to have a good time, to drink some beer, connect with friends, and celebrate the hope for the future of a football team. And Josh Harris is like, hey, I see you. I hear you. And by the way, that beer's on me. And I think that is, insert Cake's favorite word here, awesome. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live, yes, even today on YouTube at youtube.com/@theteam980. And when we get back, we will continue to hear from you at 301-230-0980. Phone lines are wide open, so there are spaces. Go ahead and get in, 301-230-0980. Your reaction to the day. How are you feeling on this day where the NFL owners approve the sale of the Washington Commanders from Dan Snyder to Josh Harris? And I do believe Kevin Sheehan is going to stop by as well. That's all still to come here on the Team 980.
Catching the junks here. PVI Office Furniture has been servicing the...
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube, where if you're watching right now, you see the sights and sounds of our Burgundy and Sold party here at the bullpen. My pleasure to be hosting this show today. Wow, what an honor to be lucky enough to have the time spot to, because it really is. I didn't do anything to do this, Tim. Tim Park, our engineer here, doing a great job helping us out all day. I didn't do anything. I mean, I guess I did well enough in my career to get the time slot, but like, I didn't pick the announcement to happen during my show. They could have done this at 8 in the morning. And Junkies would have been like, hey, cool, we got it. You know, Sheehan would have been like, yeah, cool, do it at 10. I just got lucky, and I'm happy and honored to be the one on the air as the news comes down today, which means I get to talk to you and get your reaction at 301-230-0980. Brian Mitchell is going to stop by our set coming up here at the bullpen at 6:30. Let's go to Blaine, though. Blaine, thanks for calling. What's up? How you feeling today, man?
Hey man, hey Craig, hey, it's awesome to be on the air with you, brother. Because this is a heck of a day, man. It's been coming for a while, so I knew it was coming. I mean, I knew it was coming, and I thought, well, it's probably going to be a little anticlimactic. But man, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When the announcement came in, I almost cried. It's crazy, man.
Blaine, where do those tears come from? Where does the emotion come from? Why does it mean so much to you?
Man, it's just been so long since we won. I grew up in the era of winning. And it's been doing that. All my friends did. My rich friends did. So, and they would come back and they would be hoarse. They couldn't talk for 2 or 3 days because their voice was gone. And it was just that they beamed. So it was just incredible. And that's been gone for so long, man. And everything has just been a disappointment. One disappointment after another. And that's why you've got to get so excited about Sam Howell, because he's the first bright light that we have seen in such a long time, man, long time. You cross your fingers, you hope, but it looks good. It looks good. The future is looking bright, man.
Blaine, man, I appreciate the call so much. Appreciate your support. I know you're a big listener and watcher of all our stuff. So thank you very much for calling in on this special day, man. Have a good one. All right, that's Blaine with us. Let's go to AP in Greenbelt. AP, thanks for calling on this monumental day in Washington football history. How you feeling, man?
Finally! That is how I'm feeling. And you know how I do, and I've been waiting a long time to fire, to terminate, to excommunicate, or whatever the John Wick term is, excommunicado. I've been waiting to get rid of this dude since 1999, since I seen him walk through the door. So, with that being said, because that's all I want to do, and I know there's a lot of callers that want to weigh in, but just know, DMV, I feel your pain. I've been hurting with y'all, all the heartbreak. It's a new day.
It is.
So with that being said, Daniel Mark Snyder, screw you! Yeah! Fire!
Screw you! You're fired!
AP, excellent work. Thank you kindly. Someone's got to follow that. It ain't going to be me. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live on the free Odyssey app. Terrell, you get to go up next. I don't know if you got impressions, if you got voices, you got you're summoning your inner wrestler, whatever you got, whatever you're feeling. Let it loose, man.
That is unfair. How do you put me on after that? Oh, my God.
You're just the next in line, Terrell. I mean, hey, you can just be like, I'm happy, we're good, keep it nice. Sometimes the best thing to do after a superstar performance is just kind of play it cool and keep it going. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to outdo it. But I care about how everyone feels, man. Just tell me how you're feeling on this day where Dan Snyder agrees to sell the Washington Commanders.
Listen, I'm excited. I can't be at the party, but I am wearing my T-shirt, which has Dan Snyder on it with a red clown nose. It's classic. That's in solidarity. You know what I mean? I'm excited for this day. I've been waiting for it for a long time. As somebody who lives up in Baltimore and I got a lot of friends up here who talk about their team, I now have something to talk about. So I'm excited. I do feel a type of way that my team is winning the offseason again, but I feel like this is a different win. This is a different offseason. I'll take this win any day. So that's all I got. I can't compete after that guy before me. So that's it, man. So I'm in solidarity with everybody at the party. Hail to the Commanders, ex-Redskins. Hail to the Free. That's who we are. We're the Free because we are no longer dealing with that guy. That's it, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's see. What do we, Anthony? We got. Let me check the call sheet. I'm about to give myself a 5-point fine for uninflicted error by just asking a question on the radio that I could answer myself by opening a different tab on my internet browser. All right, we got open phone line. So 301-230 0980, 301-230-0980. Melanie Coburn and some of the other former team employees are here, getting treated like celebrities they deserve to be treated like, which is awesome to see. We got Michael's. Can we get Mike's mic up real quick? Mike, this mic. It's hard when your name is Mike because then it was like, which Mike? I'm like, the human one.
A little confusing, but no, if you're not out here, you got to come to the bullpen. This place is absolutely jumping.
Yeah, it's incredible. All of our station personalities are here. I know Sheehan's here. B. Mitch again is going to join us here in a few minutes. I'm not sure if all 4 junkies are here. Most of them are, but it's possible. For all I know, Lurch is somewhere like off in a corner somewhere, drinking a beer, conversating with people. You think you'd probably see him because he's 8.5 feet tall, but you never know. Let's get back to the phones. 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Colby. Colby, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980.
What up, man? I'm just happy that the time has finally come. I didn't think that it would ever come, but it's here. And I'm just happy. I'm originally from here, but I've been living in Atlanta for the past 10 years, but I decided to come down and celebrate with y'all. What time do y'all end over there?
Party goes until 9:30 tonight. We're on the air till 9:30 as well. Doc and Linnell are getting ready to go. Doc's now on his second cigar. So Doc's feeling great down here celebrating.
Nice.
But they're getting going. It's starting at 7 following me. So we got live broadcasts. The band is going. Left Hand Up is getting performed live at 7:30. So, yeah, man, if you're in the area up and visiting, you got to get on down here quick.
I came here to celebrate because I never thought this would ever happen, and I'm so happy, and I can't wait to get down there to see y'all.
Awesome, man. Well, come say hi when you get down here, Colby. Appreciate the call. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. And I will say this, too. I will say this. The idea that, we never thought this would happen, right? It is hard to explain to people that are not from here. Or, frankly, anyone that has an understanding of psychology. And you're like, Craig, that's a weird turn. You're going to go highbrow on us right now? Yeah, I am. Sorry, it's the way my brain works. But, there is nothing more important to people than identity. It is a psychological thing that makes us act irrationally in all kinds of ways. People, whether it's the way they vote, the way they make any kind of decision in their life, often do things against their self-interest because people who they perceive as aligned with them and thus who may help make up their identity ultimately are doing the same thing. So people want to, it's groupthink, they get in the same thing. And so who you are as a person, who your identity is, when someone asks you, hey, what's your name? Who are you? How do you identify yourself? You want to millennial it up or your Gen Z it up? What's your Twitter bio? What's your TikTok bio? Right? I got to get Gen Z in there too with the TikTok. How do you ultimately identify yourself? And what's funny is most people here, a lot of them would say Commanders fan. And that's an essential part of who you are listening, who they are, everyone here in the crowd. But for Daniel M. Snyder, what he was for his identity was, I am Daniel Mark Snyder, and you better call me Mr. Snyder, and I am the owner of the Washington Commanders. And to get to a point where even that narcissistic goon went, yeah, I can't do this anymore, is remarkable. And I will say this, you can probably thank his wife. And I would say you can thank his wife thanks to what you who go to the games did. Those of you that still went but said, we're going to go and we're going to boo. Because you want to know who I didn't think liked getting booed very much when she got put up on the big screen? That was Tanya Snyder. And when Tanya went, I'm out, the one thing that Dan perhaps cared about more than being the owner of the Washington football team was being married to Tanya Snyder. And thus when she was like, I'm out, that was saying, we're out, and thus off you go. And also, what point is it to pass something on to your kids when all it's going to do is make everyone hate your kids? So I don't want to say the hatred worked, but actually I do. The hatred worked. It pushed them out. And I know Grant said this earlier, so I'm not going to bite his bar, but I am going to repeat it. This is the first time I can ever remember a fan base pushing an owner out. Owners have been pushed out for bad behavior by other owners, for financial reasons, by leagues, by all kinds of things. But to say a DC, is that a sports town? Hell yeah, it's a sports town. They just took their team back from a guy who said, I was going to die as the owner, and by the way, I'm never changing the name, and by the way, I'm never selling the team. Guess what? He did change the name, although Nike and FedEx have a lot to thank for that, and he just sold the freaking team. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, Brian Mitchell joins us here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app on a lovely, lovely day. Josh Harris has had his deal for the Commanders, $6.05 billion approved. As Brian Mitchell joins us here on set. B. Mitch, have you ever been happy to spend $6.05 billion?
When I get it, I won't spend it. To say it like that.
Yeah.
But you know, when you hear something goes for that much, it shows you the importance of the NFL to the American society. Say it like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a lot of damn money. and you know what? But you got to realize the love and the passion for the NFL and for teams like the Washington Commanders. It shows you a lot. And I think the ultimate thing is this. Dan can sit up here and be happy, but he owes a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yeah,
but ultimately, he didn't
ain't
make that
getting
grow.
$6 billion.
The NFL built like a can't-miss type of situation. But Josh rolls in, and let's hope he listen, people been saying, well, he hadn't won a championship. Hell, we haven't had the chance to be in the party to win a championship. So if he comes here and we in the playoffs every year, isn't that better?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'll take it.
I can't remember who's second, but the Commanders are far and away the only team that has not won 11 games in the amount of time that it is. I think everyone else is like 10, 11 years. The Commanders, it's since 91. Last time they won 11 games, you were there in uniform. Not, you get that
I'm wearing that ring because of it.
ring. By the way, very cool coincidence. The two most significant days of, I would say, Commanders/Washington football history in the last, how long since you got that ring? 32
almost,
years?
Yeah, 31.
31? Have both taken place in Minneapolis. You won that ring in Minneapolis. And today at the JW Marriott, Josh Harris voted in Minneapolis.
I don't know if the NFL owners were thinking about that when they did it, but ultimately some things just happen because it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And maybe for everyone out there that believed that there was a curse on this team, the curse was reversed today.
Today in Minneapolis.
Yes.
There you go. But what I was going to say is, like, the Sixers have won 50 games 4 times in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, have they won a championship? No. But they got the reigning league MVP, and they've won 50 games 4 times in the last 6 years, which is what? The NFL equivalent to 11, 12?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to do that 4 times in 6 years?
It would be. And remember, they tore it down.
They did.
They went through the process, and they ended up in the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
Have we ever torn it down?
No,
have you ever gone through a process?
I don't even know if they have to tear it down.
No,
they just
you
have to have a plan.
Down. I'm so happy to hear you say that, Craig. I've heard everybody talk about what this team was going to be, but I never hear nobody talk about what the plan is. But one thing I know from talking to my friends in Philadelphia, Josh Harris told you what the plan was, whether you liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a plan, and what he's done is live up to the plan. Now, once I get you a reigning MVP, I get you a guy who scores the most in the league, I give you a coach who's supposed to be a great coach.
Yeah.
If they don't get over the hump, that's their fault. It ain't my damn fault.
Right.
So he gave you everything you needed to win a championship. If he comes here and gives us everything we need, that's all that matters.
Right. That's all you can ask from ownership.
Yeah,
Eventually, players got to play, coaches got to coach, etc. So I'm not going to be able to go to the press conference tomorrow, which I'm bummed about. But 2 o'clock press conference and a 4 o'clock radio show in DC traffic do not get along well.
They don't.
So here would be my question for Josh Harris, and I'm curious if you have an answer for this, of how you would answer it as a guy who's been watching the NFL evolve for however, I'm not going to put a number on it, as many years as you played and now been doing this analyst stuff. Do you have a football philosophy? Right? If you're Josh Harris and you are looking at what he's done with the Sixers, and you know me, I'm a huge basketball nerd.
Yeah.
I can very easily see philosophically what they wanted to do. Shoot a lot of threes, shoot a lot of free throws. They have a very analytically driven model. If I ask Josh Harris that tomorrow, what is your football philosophy? Do you think he has an answer? And if he comes to you and says, B-Mitch, what should it be? How would you answer that?
I think he would have an answer because he's very analytically driven. And I believe that Josh Harris understands this team is at the bottom when it comes to analytics.
Yes.
Now, every great coach also has a field. So I'm going to use the analytics. We're going to bring as much analytics we need to help our coach out. So when he has a field, he has an educated guess on that field.
But, like, how does that ultimately define a style of play, right? Like, how does that come when you say, like, what's the plan? You can't plan to draft Caleb Williams unless you're, like, go ahead and truly tank.
You can't plan to draft him unless you want to suck this year.
Right. But, like, yeah, every team wants to go draft the next Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Cool plan, guy, right? But, like, how do you actually come up with a structure, a philosophy of what you want your team to look like so that you draft and sign free agents into that? Like, what is that structure
See, my thing is you come with an analytically driven format to construct your team. then once you get your team, let's be real. I was drafted in the 5th round as a former quarterback.
Yep.
Nobody knew what the hell I was going to be. But when I got here, they said the only way you're going to make teams return to kicks and punts. I had lived my whole life saying, I'm never going to do that. That's the stupidest thing in the world. And then I catch one and I return a touchdown. Now, what I had inside of me, that competitive drive, it kicked in. Hell, I'm going to try to be the best at this thing.
Right.
And I think that some people think I was one of the best. But ultimately, it's like, once you get people in, how can you get the absolute best out of them?
Right.
Because James Harris was not drafted. Remember that. And James Harris with the Steelers was one of the best pass rushers ever.
Right.
So the whole thing is not try to say draft first rounders, draft first. A lot of first rounders suck. Am I right?
For sure.
So if they suck, that means a lot of 7th rounders excel.
Right.
So find the best out of what you get.
So I think you touched on something that's really interesting that people don't necessarily understand in the world of analytics in football, which analytics can drive not just like a style of play, we're running the ball more, passing the ball more. It drives and informs who you actually select and the traits and characteristics. Because I'm sure Beathard drafted you, right?
No, was it
Charlie. Okay, so I'm sure
Charlie
Charlie
got fired because he drafted a 5'10" and a half quarterback. And Jackie Cook said, what the hell are you doing?
But he saw something in whether it was your speed, your size, your competitive drive, something that said, this guy can help us win. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that they can figure that out. Because the other thing is the league evolves. And this is where my hope is, Brian, is that they're on the cutting edge of where the league is going. They realize, because I tend to think the league is going to shift back towards running the football a little bit more because defenses are so small.
I'm with you.
Can you be on the cutting edge of that and understand how to do that in a smart way? Those are the kinds of things that I'm hoping Josh Harris hires the right people to spark the rebirth of this franchise.
Think about this. The best 10, 15 years of this franchise was Joe Gibbs. He rolled in here wanting to be a pass-happy team. He realized after being 0-5, that's not what we're about.
Yep.
He made an adjustment. They went 8-3 the rest of the way. They finished 8-8 that season. They won 3 of 4 Super Bowls that they attended in the last, 10 years?
Right.
You have to realize you got to be a cutting-edge guy, like you just stated. The league right now has gone so damn small. Joe Gibbs was a run-first team. They had a quarterback with over 3,000 yards and 3 receivers with 1,000 yards apiece. But they had running backs that had 1,000 yards apiece, too.
They figured out how to manipulate it.
What does a defense have to figure out to try and stop that?
Right.
This league, this is what I've said. I was an offensive player all my life. But I always thought as a defensive-minded guy. On offense, I want to get matchup advantages for me. Okay? How about on defense? You start trying to set it up. Right now, these teams have these big offensive linemen. Defense is getting the faster people, they're beating them. What if I start getting maybe a little smaller offensive linemen?
Right.
Who are as strong as they are and just as quick. And now I start running the ball down your damn throat. What can you do? Can you stop me?
Right.
If I decide I'm not going to throw it 30 times a game, I'm coming up the middle with your liberty-ass defensive lineman 35 times. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you're going to crush them.
You got to set yourself up. The whole thing is having a mindset of it. My problem with Scott Turner, and I love Scott. I've known Scott since he was a kid. Threw him in a laundry hamper, threw ice on him, and taped him up. But the ultimate thing is Scott never went away from what he thought. And the problem with so many guys in the NFL who aren't successful, they think they know more than everybody.
Right.
Eric Bieniemy is from Andy Reid's school.
What do you know about that?
What I know about Andy Reid after 3 years, Andy, I would say, Craig, I'm going to set you up in the out wide all week. Next week, Craig, you out left. Third week, you're going to be out wide, out left. You're going to be moving around. I'm going to put you in a position where they're going to give guys to check you that I know can't check you.
Right.
Scott never adjusted.
Right.
Eric has been taught to adjust. So just that makes me have more hope for the offense.
For sure. All right, let me ask you this on the way out. I'm trying to remember who brought this up. I don't know if it was Doc who brought it up. No, I was listening to, maybe it was Kime who brought this up on his podcast. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of stuff. Try to give people credit. Someone smart said it, but your name came up in it.
I said that.
Oh, it was you.
No, I'm joking.
It was Brian talking about himself. One of the kind of red flags when Dan got here was he brought in Dion and Bruce Smith and all those guys. But it wasn't just bringing them in. It was taking a guy like you for granted. You had been here. You were a part of the fabric of the team.
I heard Doc say it before.
Yeah, Doc said, I think Kevin said it too. I think that's actually who it was on Take Command with us. And he said, getting Dion is great, but that means you have to get rid of Brian Mitchell because Brian Mitchell is your return guy, and that ain't so great. You were the fabric. You were a part of what it meant to be a Washington football player at the time, and you were going to pass that along to the next generation in due time until your time was cut short for reasons that had nothing or had everything to do with the fact that the person who was making those decisions didn't get the human part of the game. Clue. So when you look at this team now, do you think there is enough of an identity to build on from a culture standpoint, from a fabric, like who are the guys here, or is that going to be something that comes in with the next generation
I'll
of
hit
players?
you some quick stuff right now. Ron Rivera came in and changed the culture. I believe he changed the culture because they have players on this team now that very much players I would have loved to play with.
Yeah.
Jalen Allen, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
So those two guys right there, you have the fabric of what you need. Dan rolled in and got rid of me because I think I cursed Vinny out the first week he was here. Because he asked me a question, he gave me a dumbass answer, and I gave him my opinion, which I always do.
Yeah.
But those guys right there, I remember Terry McLaurin telling Eric Bieniemy, coach me hard.
Yes.
I need that, and my guys will accept it. What did Eric Bieniemy come in here doing? Coaching hard.
Yeah.
And not only offensive players have discussed Eric, defensive players have said it too. That's a coach who gets the whole fabric of everything. So for me, ultimately, what I want to see is that I want Josh to come in and understand that there are guys on this team that already can take you where you want to go.
Yeah. And then
you don't have to change everybody here.
Yes.
Because I would say you turn on your show, my show, Grant and Danny, Doc, Kevin, the Jug, anybody you want to turn on, I promise you, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Terry McLaurin are always praised. Jahan Dotson. Keep those type of guys around, the guys that don't mind being kicked in the ass to become better. And those guys that have less talent than them, guess what they do? They don't question, they fall in line. And the problem with Dan was he went out and got Deion Sanders and wanted to make him better than Darrell Green. Deion was great, but once he got here, he sucked. I remember he got caught from behind running a touchdown on a punt return. I would have scored that touchdown. Just say. But what I'm saying is you have enough guys on this squad right now who have the mindset and the work ethic to take you where you want to go. Make sure you keep bringing those type of guys here. To hell with somebody else star from 5 to 10 years ago. Make yours into a star.
And I will say this, analytics can be a nice little safeguard against that, because if you make informed decisions based off data, what you did 5 years ago don't matter very much to the data folks. So
there you go.
That's a nice little safeguard on that. Brian Mitchell, everybody, he is on 10 to 2 each and every day on 106.7 The Fan.
With the big ear guy.
Yeah, with that Finley fella. He'll be on tomorrow, and we'll wrap up with the perhaps most epic Real Things Real People Have Said in real microphones next here on the Team 980. wish that we had a speaker here right now. We're Essex right here. Matt, we're playing Left Hand Up on the radio. But the good news is, if you want to see what happens when we play Left Hand Up, all people got to do is wait about 40 minutes because there's going to be a live performance of Left Hand Up coming up at 7:30. So, just saying, if you're not down here on your way down to the bullpen, this is the place to be. I gotta one more time flip this camera around for those on the stream. And if you missed the stream today, you're definitely going to want to check out all the stuff at youtube.com/@CraigHoffman when I post it up later. But yeah, like this is the chaos of humanity, the excellent chaos of humanity, celebrating this monumental day in the history of Washington football, where Josh Harris has agreed to buy the Washington Commanders. I mean, obviously, he's already agreed to that, but the sale, the actual details of it all get approved by the league. Anthony, I will just say, for folks that listen to the show every day, and were listening yesterday during Never Read the Comments.
Merle, they agreed. It's July 20th, and they agreed to sell the team.
I'm so petty. I'm so wrong for that, Anthony. Why did I just do that to
Merle?
And you're still going.
Yep. I can't drop it. I can't drop it. Oh, man, what a day. Coming up after us here on the show, or on the station, you got Doc and Linnell. So got that. If you're driving around, listening to the celebration all throughout the night, the perspective from Doc and B. Mitch and JP Flaime today on the show, so good. I'm really glad we got to hear from Josh Harris and Roger Goodell, more so from Harris, Goodell, whatever. Still got plenty of questions for that dude. But we got all kinds of information today. The Mary Jo White report did drop. We'll talk about that on the show tomorrow. I guess I should tell people what's coming up on the show over the next couple of days. Tomorrow, Don Van Natta for a good long time. Don has been as essential to this happening. And look, I think it's important to say, as a journalist, you don't do things to make people lose their team, or all you do. I actually said this in a Twitter Spaces earlier today. I was on with Red Zone and Deuce and all those guys in their Twitter space, and someone was like, I just don't really like the media a lot of times, but I respect what you guys do. Can you give us a little bit more insight? And what I told them is what I'll tell you right now. All we do is the media, and especially someone like Don Van Natta, a true journalist, capital J journalist, is hold up a mirror to an organization, to a person, to someone with power. We're not responsible for the reflection. Our job is to simply accurately, in a good position, hold up the mirror. And Don Van Natta and Seth Wickersham did that, and Tisha Thompson on some of the early pieces as well, did that as well as anyone. They held up a mirror, they did the appropriate digging, and they get to the point where today Josh Harris has agreed to buy the Washington Commanders. The deal gets approved because Dan Snyder was forced to do something he never wanted to do, sell the team. So to celebrate that, to talk more about it, Don Van Natta tomorrow, Clinton Yates tomorrow, Mark Rippon, Super Bowl winning quarterback, is going to join us at some point early next week. I do believe that's going to happen Monday. I think Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network is in. We're working on a bunch of other stuff as well, and super excited to have all of those guests on. But Josh Harris did not just agree to buy the Commanders today. He agreed to buy something else very important, and that today will lead us to real things, real people said, into real microphones.
Real things.
Your out time is 55-37.
5 and 11, not very good. Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
And for those wondering, we're not retiring the Bruce clip. The culture will remain damn good as a reminder of how sweet things are now. But Josh Harris earlier today, yes, this is real, called in to Grant and Danny at 106.7 The Fan and told them this.
I'm super pumped. It's a great day. It's a great day for Washington football, and I'm ready to get to work. I'm heading your way. I want to get back to Washington, my hometown, and celebrate with you guys. And let's get started by me buying everyone in the brewery and in the bullpen a beer. Can I do that?
Let's go! Oh, come on. Are you kidding? I love that. That's a good start.
Yes, sir, you may.
That's awesome. And what I love about this is Harris, like, there should be an exuberance here. This is exciting. He just bought his favorite football team. That's freaking awesome. And like, what that means is you get to share this beautiful thing with this community that you grew up in, this thing that you cared about so much and that so many people care about. And the second Dan Snyder did it, he ran into a room, and yes, he called his dad, and that's super cool, I guess. But Josh Harris called into us, and that is even better. We'll see you tomorrow, the Hoffman Show on the Team 980.